So we said that one of the things that we're always concerned about is how loud that sound is, amplitude. Think about this for a second, and you can do this. Take your thumb and your forefinger, just rub them together. How loud is that? It's very, very soft, right? Now imagine yourself on a runway at an airport, and a 747 jet takes off right over the top of your head. How loud is that? More importantly, what's the difference between the two? Between that softness and that airplane flying over you? Is the airplane 4 million times louder? Is it 150 times louder? Is it 2,876 times louder, right? The numbers are dramatic, right? So we use a decibel. A decibel is just a ratio between two numbers that represent two different intensities of sound pressure waves. The formula for decibels is 10 times the log of intensity of sound 1 divided by intensity of sound 2. Don't get your scientific calculator out. We're not going to do any math today, but it gives us an easy way to discuss large numbers of sound so that everybody kind of distills them and understands what we're talking about. So just to give you an idea, you see at the bottom here that something that's plus 10 dB is going to be 10 times the intensity. A source that's 20 dB louder than source A is going to be 100 times more intense, 30 dB 1,000 times. So now you start to see why we use a decibel to actually easily talk about it. When we're talking about pressure waves, we're talking about sound pressure level, or dBspl, okay? Notice these values here for a second: 10 dB, 20 dB, 30 dB. I picked 10 dB intervals for a reason, and 10 dB is kind of a magic number for humans. We as humans perceive a difference of 10 dB as either twice as loud or half as loud. If source A is replicating a sound that is 70 dB and source B is replicating that same sound at 80 dB, most people are going to say, yeah, source B is twice as loud, or the 70 dB source is going to be half as loud. So it's something to keep in mind. So let's look at our scale here, just to kind of illustrate, some typical sounds in the environment that we use. And since it is a ratio, we have to start with a number, right? And that number is actually 0. 0 dBspl is the threshold of hearing. Bell Laboratories, way back when, did research and determined what's the actual softest sound that most normal people with normal hearing can hear. And we call that the threshold of hearing, okay? It's a pin drop when you hear that. Look at the scale here as I'm talking right now. I'm talking roughly normal conversation, which was roughly around 65, 70 dBspl. If I go to a loud rock concert and the engineer's mixing too loud, that gets up to around 115, 120 dB. A comfortable concert listening might be 95, 100 dBspl. And then that jet airplane going over my head, that gets us into that, 140, maybe even 150 dBspl. Threshold of pain. That's where actually it physically hurts me absorbing those sounds. So when we're talking about amplitude, we're talking about volume and level. Distance obviously affects this, right? If I'm 20 feet away from a source, it's going to be quieter than if I'm 10 feet away from that source, right? And again, because sound is mathematical, we have to have a formula for that as well. And it's called the inverse square law. Sound dissipates proportionally over distance. The formula actually is 2 times the distance, or double the distance from our source, gives us a minus 6 dBspl. A sound system that if I'm 100 feet away from the speakers and it is 90 dBspl that I'm receiving, 50 feet closer, that's going to be an increase of 6 dBspl. So it's going to be 96 dBspl. Okay. Same thing. If I move 200 feet away from the 100-foot distance, then the sound drops off 6 dBspl.
We are Capital Stage Techs. Capital Stage Techs is the only company specifically focused on the education and training of all aspects of the AV professional. Through our wide array of live, hands-on workshops and webinars, we provide the technical knowledge, customer service and ethics skills, and industry-specific hygiene standards that are essential qualities for today's production staff, from the entry-level stagehand to production management and specialist roles. Capital Stage Techs also designs custom training programs specifically tailored to meet our clients' unique needs. Capital Stage Techs, training the next generation of AV professionals.